Welcome to Toffee Blue View, your source for all things Everton. This definitely is the first take and not the second. I'm Gerry. We got Max and Terry here, and we're going to talk about leadership. Is Everton lacking leadership now that there's a big, huge Jag-sized hole in our squad? I think we're expecting Coleman to fill the captain's shoes, and if Baines decides to sign his one-year contract, we're going to have another cool head in the locker room, another veteran presence. But after that, there's other players who are good players. They like to lead by example, but it's hard to say. So the real question of discussion here is: are Everton lacking leadership? Do we need to buy some more? All right, we tried that before. I remember, was it one year we bought Rooney and Klaassen, and we bought all these captains all on the same side. Didn't work out too well. So the question is, taking a look at our squad, do we need to bring in somebody with leadership qualities or are we just thinking good players that fit the system? Max.
I think it's an interesting take, to be fair, Gerry, because as I said before, I believe leadership qualities are sort of born out of specific moments that you can you can point to, and as said, not too many players in the current squad that have really had those moments. You go back to the cup eliminations, Millwall. That it's a time for someone to step up. It's a time for someone to make the mark, and I think it's something that the brands and Silva are certainly taken into account. Obviously, they chose to let Jagielka go, but they put the 1 year offer on the plate for Leighton. So obviously, they don't want to let the two of them go at the same time. If they do, obviously, I feel like there's a huge, a leadership gap there. I don't think Ashley Williams is going to step up and be that Swansea captain that we bought anytime soon on his return. So, yeah, there is a huge gap, but I think we just need to stick to doing business smart and getting the targets, because I feel like this team, for the first time almost since, specifically Moyes' era, there seems to be a real character about this squad, and I feel like, they certainly seem like they've got the ability to reach those levels where they can achieve those defining moments where people can become leaders. For example, Luca Dean scoring set pieces, Gylfi Sigurdsson stepping up and taking responsibility. They certainly are and do have the quality to be captains, and Sigurdsson has taken on responsibility at times, and it does seem to be passed around. Needless to say, I forgot to even mention Seamus Coleman. His fitness permitting, I feel like he's obviously the one who's getting the armband, isn't he?
And I guess the question becomes like let's say we purchase some new right back, as we know it's a possibility. So if for some reason Coleman finds his way to the bench, who becomes the captain? I've seen some people make some shouts for Pickford, and I can't go for that at the moment, just based on some things that happened last season. Although maybe with another year or two, some maturation happens. Maybe we've got that. He'll have more of a calm head when he needs to have it. Terry. I look at our squad, and Sigurdsson is a good shot. It's just a gay. If he stays, we're going to get the same consistent effort every single time.
True.
I don't know how vocal he is, but he's at least
leading by example.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like I love the grit in the fact that he's showing everybody this is what you're supposed to do every game. Damn it. You mentioned Luca Dean. I think if we end up getting Gomez, which I think we will, he's another one, and I actually think when he's lost his cool several times this season, I actually didn't really think he had completely lost it. I thought he was still under control when he did. I thought he was just sort of, communicating his annoyance with the referee at the time. You know what I mean? And with certain players, I think he's a pretty cool-headed guy, and he's not afraid to be the face of a franchise. He's another one, and we got to mention Tom Davies, but is he going to get to play enough? That's another question. Terry, I'm sure you have lots of thoughts on this. Give us some of them.
I think something that we learned, you touched on it before, when we brought in several players who had been captains at previous clubs and international level, or we had them all in at the same time. We had Ashley Williams, we had Rooney, we had obviously Jagielka, Klassen and whatnot, we still looked bereft of leadership. I think we learned from that experience that you can't actually buy leaders for your team, you'd have to grow them. And that's something that we've seen with Coleman. Now, being a good team leader and a good captain, I just think it literally is all down to the personality of the player. Now, we don't know the personality of the players, not really. We think we do, and we probably know it a little bit in some cases, but you just don't know off the field. Like, I think I look around our squad and go, there's no, other than Coleman, obviously, there's no standout candidate for leaders of the team. Like, everyone sort of cites Baines as this potential, well, he's the vice captain now, and potential leader in the locker room. But as my understanding of Baines has always been, he's a very quiet guy. Like, he's a senior head and he's respected, but he's not like a shouter. He's not like an enforcer. He's just sort of like a look up to type guy, but not someone who will bark orders. Now, when you look around the squad, there's a lot of players, and you can see the other players respect a lot, and has got the personality on the pitch at least, that they'll go to war, for the club, and they'll keep, like, not only will they keep a cool head when it's needed, but they'll go in for the fight when they need to. So Max touched on it. I think Luca Dean, if maybe not next season, going forward, he won the Players Player of the Season and in his first season at the club. So you can tell the rest of the squad really like Luca Dean and respect him. And on the pitch, he seems to be, he's having running battles with his opposite number. He fights for the badge. He's only been here one season, and he fights for the badge on the front of the shirt more than he does for the name on the back of it. I think he's someone who we should be literally tying down for a long time if we can, because he's a potential Everton captain. I think some less obvious choices, I think, going forward, a bit too soon at this point because of his age, but Calvert-Lewin seems to be one of those players who gets stuck into the battle for the club. Maybe he hasn't got that sort of influence on the other players, but he's definitely maybe not a captain, but he's more of an influential leader type player. Like Cahill was never a captain for Everton, but he was always one of our team leaders, you could tell. He was always one of the ones who took the fight to the opposition. It's just a case of who grows into that spot, because Coleman, everyone has known for a long time, will succeed Jagielka. He's not even the vice captain on paper, that's Baines, because of experience, and that's the right thing to do. It's the right way for the club to deal with it. But you've seen the obvious candidate to replace Jagielka has been Coleman. Now there's a couple of year window where Coleman is likely to be the official club captain, if he, as long as he's on, and he may not even always be on the pitch, but he will be the club captain, same as Jagielka was. And then there's a couple of years there where a new sort of player has got time to emerge. It could be someone who we bring in this summer, but we don't know it for another year or two. But there's players there. You might not just see it at this point. I remember Coleman was a low confidence player. I remember he used to get a load of abuse off Phil Neville all the time when Phil Neville was playing in central midfield and Coleman was at right back. Neville used to give him an absolute dog's life. He used to criticise him constantly, and you could see Coleman just sort of like taking it in and sort of being cowed a little bit by the club captain. But he learnt a lot from it because now he's that leader.
I suppose Phil Neville, obviously, he's always branded as the manager's pet, wasn't he, really? I was thinking, translate that to this squad. Who's Marco Silva's pet? You see him make way for Idrissa Gueye quite a lot. Obviously, there's kind of ambiguity over his future, and I know you mentioned it then, Gerry. But yeah, leading by example, one that we haven't mentioned, and I think it is more for the long-term future of the club. But I always saw John Stones eventually becoming an Everton captain, or obviously, he's left Everton, but a captain somewhere. And I think the successors to John Stones at Everton, Mason Holgate, he seems to have that fire about him. Obviously, prime example, pushing Firmino at the stands, not being afraid, standing his ground. They're qualities that you admire in a captain. He's still only very young, had a season out on loan at West Brom to gain some experience. Done well by all accounts. Hopefully.
And you mentioned him, and he was willing to step up. I know he missed it. Step up and take that first penalty, though, right, for West Brom. Yeah. He wants the pressure. It's like, okay, I'm tipping my hand here watching that damn Man City docu-series, but Pep says pressure is a privilege.
Agreed.
And I feel like those good players, that certain players understand that and crave it and want it. And I like the fact that he stepped up. I hate the fact that he missed for him, but it's a learning experience.
I think he's more or less in the same boat as Davies, though he's got the potential to grow into that, but it's whether he plays. It's like he's got to play. That won't happen off the pitch. If Davies and Holgate were to next season, surprise people and they nailed down 2 starting spots and then took off from there all day, either of them. But it's just, you're not gonna be able to grow into a leader of the team when you're only in and out of the team for a few games a season. It's all about playing.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I'm not worried about leadership. I'm not. I think that you guys have kind of talked about a few things here, and I think you're both right, because you're both saying the same thing in like different ways. Max, you were talking about is born through a series of moments, and Terry, you talk about leader will emerge. Okay, they will. All right, as we battle, as we go, someone is going to show themselves as being the one that people want to go to and to listen to when during the tough times, during the difficult times. Someone is going to show up for that. It's just because the situation is going to demand it, and I think it's really difficult to falsely manufacture that. How do you do it? You bring in the people you feel like are the best character fit for the squad, not just players but also character.
Yeah, we had that brilliantly balanced under Moyes, I think.
Yeah, and I think Silva and Bronze right now are bringing in players of a certain character, and they do fit the system, but they are team first players. It's going to happen. I don't worry about the lack of leadership. I think we're gonna continue to grow on the pitch, and someone, who knows? Right now, we have a lot of players that get on with their business and keep their mouths shut. That's not a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's a Silva quality. Players that keep their mouths shut and get on with their business. Maybe that's the indication of a Silva squad. Cool. All right? Sometimes you need somebody to get in the ref's face, though. You know what I mean? That is something. Somebody to stand up. But you know what? Every single time we needed that, someone was there.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I do feel like there is that sort of character within that squad, and we've only worked with it for one season. How that pans out over a series of time. So surely, I like, similar to you, Gerry, I've got faith, but to me, it's down to not bottling. We can't continue to bottle, cup tournaments or big games. We made a real good statement with our performances against the top 6 teams toward the back end of the season. Take that mentality full steam ahead.
Continue and push to grow. That's the only thing you can do, because if you're not growing, if you're not continuing to put yourselves in a scenario to grow, then what are you doing? Then you're stagnant.
After 17-18 season now.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on potentially lacking leadership? No. All right. Right now, I'm just hoping for some badass signings and reload, restock, bring some of the old faces back, and let's do this. I'm genuinely excited. I realize I'm supposed to be like, oh no, let's go. I am ready, especially with the news that Gomez is probably gonna be coming back. That's nice. All right. Anything else on this, guys? We good?
No.
Yeah. Always like when I agree with you guys. Then I'm like, oh, so I'm not on the crazy pills. All right, so if you've been digging the videos, please subscribe to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel. We sincerely appreciate it. If you want more Max, check his Twitter. He'll tell you when and where he's going to be putting out some content. He does a lot of pieces for the Toffee Blues webpage, so keep an eye on that. He's a knowledgeable Evertonian. Yeah. Terry is also on the Twitters. All right, check him out with his amazing GIF game. Yeah, there's a GIF for it every single time. Hey Terry, I'm hyperventilating. Let me throw this GIF in here for you, Gerry. It sums up your feelings. It's nice. He won't be able to do that though if you see him in the streets, but he will give you a hug and it will take your breath. So follow both these guys. Keep an eye on what they're up to. We'd appreciate it. That's our final video segment, but shift over to the podcast. I guess that's it, though. Much love, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye. I wonder if he'll use that.